I was lord of this place before the crows and rats made it their domain.
Well, hello there, everybody. Yes, it is I once again. What's this? Balgin plays computer games? Why, yes. Yes, he does. Some days more often than not, in fact. Generally, if I got no friends around and I'm not building miniatures or painting miniatures or thinking about painting miniatures or all the other various things I have to do that are considerably less fun in my life, sometimes I'll play a computer game. And today I wanted to show something off that is very special. Now this is a lovely game that I quite enjoy, called Darkest Dungeon. In fact, it's got to be my favourite game that came out in the last few years. It really has. Those of you not familiar with the game, well, I'll probably do a Let's Play at some point actually. I've been meaning to for, well, the last few years. In fact, when I first saw this game, the very first day it went up on Kickstarter, and I was one of the day one backers, I just saw it and I thought, I like the look of this. I like the idea. I want to play this game. I want to help make this game become a reality. And so I put in my few meager pounds. And lo and behold, this wonderful game was made. Now, the reason I'm showing this off today is that down here at the bottom of the hero roster we have a new kind of hero. A kind of hero known as the Twilight Knight. Now, many of you may be thinking, but surely, Balgin, doesn't the Twilight Knight belong in Kingdom Death? Well, yes she does. She comes from the world of Kingdom Death, but she's no stranger to crossovers. She's appeared in Wrath of Kings, Eldorado, Super Dungeon Explore. I think she'd appeared in Myth, the board game by the same people who did the Banner Saga Warbands board game. Both very good games, by the way. And she's also been in a few other bits and pieces of various crossovers as well. So she does have a way of finding her path, wending into different worlds, and in all honesty, the world of Darkest Dungeon isn't that different to the world of Kingdom Death. Now here we have a brand new starting level Twilight Knight. I want to show her off, talk through the skills, show a little gameplay in a dungeon, and I should apologise now. So, the main reason I'm showing her off is this is a mod I'm working on. I'm not doing it all alone. I've had some help with some of the things I'm not so good at. And she's not quite ready yet, but she's very near to being playable. Well, she's playable now, but she's very near to being something I'd be willing to release and say, you know what, this is good enough to share with people. Now, currently, she does have a few placeholder art assets that aren't finished yet, and I'm not going to show off stuff that's just clearly not finished. There's also a few things that display a little buggily, so she's not quite finished yet. Alright? Now, for those of you not quite so familiar with the game, the next few minutes may be a bit tedious, but I'm just going to talk through this. So, combat skills. There. My mouth isn't working very well today, is it? Right, the first skill is Hack. This is a repeated, brutal hacking away at the enemy, ka 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 ka, as the sword chops down. Oh, time and time again. Gaining in speed and accuracy she does so. Now, I'm probably going to remove the speed buff or the accuracy buff at some point in time. The main reason this is the first attack is that every hero's number one attack is generally their basic attack they're likely to spam a lot. So with the Crusader it will be his Smite, With Vestal, it'll be her mace attack, which she isn't necessarily going to spam a lot, but if she's in the front rank, she's going to need to use it. Likewise with the Plague Doctor, it's the dagger slice, and it's a front rank dagger attack with the Homan as well. Generally, for every hero, the #1 skill is your basic close combat melee attack, unless we're talking about the Arbalist or the Musketeer, whose basic attack tends to be hanging at the back and shooting people. So this is a basic front rank single target attack. Generally the Twilight Knight does have slightly... she's a little bit towards the high end on accuracy and crit rates. She's not as tough as some other frontline heroes, and she does work best in a frontal position. Next we have Cleave. The skill name is a placeholder and likely to change. It's going to be a spinning attack. It doesn't have final art assets yet, so I'm not going to show this one off in game. This is a front rank group attack that will potentially hit 2 targets and knock them back or stun them, or both, which can really mess with enemy positions or mess with their order of attack. It's as I said, doesn't have final art yet, so I'm not going to be showing this one off. And we'll move on to the next skill. The third skill is Slay the Beast. This skill is generally intended to actually slay beasts, because the Twilight Knight is intended to be a slayer of beasts and monsters of the more eldritch nature, rather than the undead or the various animal creatures and so on. Actually, animals are generally the beast category, aren't they? Yeah, she's not so good against humans. Anyway, yeah, generally she's... I didn't even give a spiel about her background, did I, or what she does? Ah, that'll show me, eh? Well, maybe next time I do a feature video on this. So, Slay the Beast. There is no default beast slaying ability I could place on a skill in the game, but the beasts as a group tend to have a low resistance to bleeding attacks. So in this instance, Slay the Beast deals rather a lot of damage and has a very high chance of a critical hit. I know 7% doesn't look much, but you add it onto the base crit chance, which for her is 6%, so that goes up to 13%. And then of course, as the skill advances and levels, it gets bigger, and all sorts of things affect critical chance. Do weapon affect critical chance? Yes, it does. So as the sword is improved, it can also increase critical chance. So getting back to Slay the Beast, the idea is that it's a big finisher. It's an attack that deals a lot of damage and is likely to leave a beast bleeding afterwards if it's still standing at all. But it tires her out, it exhausts her, she overextends herself, and she is left vulnerable and rather weakened for a while, for a few rounds while she recovers. Typically, if you use Slay the Beast, you'll want to use Hack to build up again for a few rounds while resting off the exhaustion. Next we have Courage. The Twilight Knight is brave. Well, not so much brave as foolhardy or fearless. It is her duty, nay her destiny, to venture out into the dark places, to slay the beasts that threaten those less capable of looking after themselves. And should she one day fall, or feel feeble, she must pass her sword on to another, that they may take up the role of Twilight Knight and venture out into the darkness to protect the settlements from the depredations of the monsters. So the idea of Courage is she throws caution to the wind, essentially declaring, I am going to fight these creatures, I am going to harm them, I'm going to cut them and kill them with my sword, and protection be damned. So she becomes more aggressive with this ability, but less defensive. It's lashing out. There's a good chance I'll be renaming this skill. Then we have Insight. Now, Insight is the opposite of Courage. Courage, she's being brave, she's being aggressive, she's going out and attacking. For insight, she's taking a moment to study her foes, to observe the monsters, to psychologically sync up with them and get on a similar kind of wave band, on a same sort of wavelength. With insight, which I'm really going to, pretty much really going to rename insight. I can't remember what it was going to be called. Originally it was called something like gather senses. But with insight, she is becoming more aware of what monsters are doing, calming her mind and understanding that all the snorting and grunting and roaring they're doing is intended to terrify the living daylight out of her. And making better use of her armour to deflect attacks, blocking with her sword, generally defending herself. Next up we have Glimmer of Hope. Glimmer of Hope is when she will take the little lantern that dangles on her belt. You see the little lantern down here swaying ever so gently as she rocks backwards and forwards, performing the Hollywood air hump, which apparently every animated character has to perform, where they just stand still, fornicating with the air before them, as if there's something there for them to fondle and pelvic thrust into for no apparent reason. But anyway, it does make the lantern swing a little bit in rather a nice manner. So, with Glimmer of Hope, she holds up the lantern and exhorts her comrades to acts of bravery, telling them, "Fear not, while the light shines we are safe, and I will stand guard over you." She doesn't actually have a guard skill. That would make her rather powerful, because both Courage and Insight activate Riposte. So, with Courage, she's being aggressive, she's letting herself get angry in a similar way to the monster, and if something strikes her, she'll lash back aggressively. Whereas with Insight, she's blocking, she's parrying, she's waiting for a moment, and then the counterattack will come when the enemy least expects it. Basically, she's playing Dark Souls there, you know. Parry mode. Oh, it never works. Right. So, Glimmer of Hope is to remove stress from an ally. This is currently a placeholder for the final version of Glimmer of Hope, which I'm hoping will remove a significant amount of stress from an ally, but transfer that stress to herself. The whole aim being that she's playing a gamble here of seeing how much stress she can gain without becoming afflicted or virtuous. And I would like to have her have skills that will push the virtue envelope. The idea being that you're taking the virtue gamble with her, and it's by no means guaranteed, but there's a jolly good chance that she'll become heroic and be a shining example, or just a gibbering wreck. And then finally we have Run to Ground, where she leaps to the back or rushes to the back of an enemy group and strikes that niggling foe who's just been hanging out at the back, hiding, feeling safe. It's like, no one can escape this blade. Now, for those of you more familiar with Darkest Dungeon, Hack is a basic attack skill. The speed buff comes from the Grave Robber's thrown knives. The accuracy comes from one of the arbalest attacks that just builds up accuracy. Cleaved, the knockback is from the man-at-arms. No, the knockback is from the arbalest's bowler shot, and the stun is from the man-at-arms dashing forward shield bash. With Slaver Beast, bleed came from another skill. I've copied effects clearly here at the moment. As I said, she's not final yet at all. The debuff comes from the Hellions Iron Swan. With Courage, the riposte is the man-at-arms riposte and not the Highwayman's riposte. I may change that later. I mean, you know, Courage and Insight are blatantly two of the leper skills, just renamed. At the moment, Glimmer of Hope is the Crusader's stress removal skill, but without the healing element, because she's not a magical sacred holy healer. She's a little more agnostic in her approach to things. And also I want it to be more of a stress transfer thing, where she receives the stress that she removes from others, so that it's not something she can do all the time. As it currently stands, it's quite a potent capability just to have Insight and Glimmer of Hope just cycling those two. And then we have Run to Ground, which is basically the Hellions' Iron Swan. As for camping skills, we have Encourage, First Aid, and Pep Talk, which are free camping skills that everyone gets. And then currently placeholder camping skills, she has Dark Ritual, which is one of the occultist skills, Zealous Speech, which is one of the Crusader skills, Reflection, which is a leper skill, and Uncatchable, which is a Highwayman skill. Highwayman, up there, Dismas, doomed to die every time. He never makes it past week 146. Not once. It's very frustrating. Now I'm going to take her and this small little assortment of heroes here on a short run into a dungeon. And I think with this group she'll be slightly better in the Warrens for bleed. Does she have... oh, there's Slave Beast bleed. And then we have bleed on the Hellion as well. So yes, let's head to the Warrens, where our task will be to complete every room battle that there is in the dungeon. Now, it's a low-level dungeon, it's a short dungeon, so I'm not expecting too much trouble, but it could happen, you know? For rewards, we'll have 3,000 gold pieces, 2 portraits, and a scouting whistle for the Houndmaster. We don't have a Houndmaster at the moment, but if one comes, that'll be great, you know? Now, let's gather our gear, fill our packs, and head off into that stinking mound of corruption where the pigmen fester and threaten to overrun Midelsonine Estate. So this is a short dungeon, so we're going to go 8 food, 6 torches, 6 torches, not 7, 2 bandages, and 2 shovels. Now we're going to the Warrens, so we're going to get 2 sets of medicinal herbs, and it is herb because there's an H in it, and 1 flask of antivenom. Sometimes it's worth taking a key to the Warrens, but not always. Now let's head in there and see what wickedness awaits us. Each region has its own challenges. Assemble your party and supplies accordingly. Well, that's me told, isn't it?
They breed quickly down there in the dark, but perhaps we can slay them even faster.
Oh, it's a nice little loopy-loop. A queue? The tail on a queue goes down that way, doesn't it? Right. Now, as I said, still on placeholder art for Cleave, and her defense animation when she gets attacked does distort and she kind of squashes down to be much shorter than she should be. in a rather endearing way, really. But for now, Alison, the Twilight Knight, is venturing forth into this den of filth. Off we go then. So here we have some nice candles on the wall there, not particularly lit. The torch glows bright. I've sort of boarded up archway there. Let's just hope nothing too risky comes. So now we're going to get to see her lovely investigate sprite, where she shuffles over and opens things up. Same as any other hero does basically, but here we go. Oh, nice little scouting roll there. We know there's no battle down here, so we don't need to bother with these rooms. Just loop around there, basically. That's made the task significantly simpler. While there was no immediate material gain, there has been knowledge, and knowledge can be a wonderful thing in these kind of circumstances. I mean, look at the state of this place; it's hideous. Well, there's a crate here, and there may be something exciting in it. Just my luck. Not that exciting. So, originally, the main reason there's a work in progress Twilight Knight mod for Darkest Dungeon, originally I thought, what would a female leper be like? The leper hero in Darkest Dungeon, if there was a female version, because lots of people have done alternate gender versions of various classes as mods, and I thought, what would a female leper be like? I thought, actually, the Twilight Knight would be a good representation of the female leper. And I set to work attempting to Frankenstein's monster bits and pieces from various heroes and heroines and community reskins to begin creating the Twilight Knight leper, and it was going really slowly, and I did a little work getting her playable in the game, and then a lovely fellow got in touch and said, I really like the idea of this mod, would you like me to help with the artwork? And I said, oh yes, very much, please, thank you very much. And so we have him to thank for the wonderful current artwork of our Twilight Knight here. And he's working away, you know, he's got a busy life, so he gives me assets when he can, and I import them into the mod. I still need to work on all her bugs, right? When she gets afflicted, or various things happen, her lines of dialogue, currently a placeholder. When I do write them, they will be very Kingdom Death related. So of course, remember, this is a Twilight Knight. She is completely insane. She believes her sword can talk to her, and answers back sometimes. When she becomes afflicted, she will ramble about Gorms and how... Have you met the lion? He writes the most beautiful plays. And all manner of things like that to do with Kingdom Death. But will be like, we are overcome! We must flee back to the safety of the lantern oven! And so on. You know, just anything I can that feels right and appropriate for the in-game circumstances, I will try and cram in there to get her feeling as Kingdom Death as possible without breaking the lore of Darkest Dungeon too much, and also incorporating a little bit of the Darkest Dungeon lore, because, for example, if she truly was a Twilight Knight from Kingdom Death, she would, for example, believe that the sun cannot truly be real. It must be the eye of some great beast that clings to the ceiling outside the homes in the hamlet, because everyone knows the sun isn't truly real in the deep subterranean world of Kingdom Death. It's just a lie, a story made up to tell children to give them hope. Or is it? Well, let's venture forth into this room. I believe it's going to be a violent one. It is going to be a violent one. Oh, goody. Let's see some skills in action then. So you saw her squashing down there. Oh, and she's caused disease. We were treated to the madman's incoherent rambling there. Actually, it's not that incoherent. If you listen a little bit, you can make out words and sometimes almost full sentences. And now this is a problem. But let's deal with what we can. So, Ashaman, the occultist, will... Let's reduce the damage output on this swine slasher because he's quite nasty. Now then, come to Alison. So, I'll be working on the line here of the skills I have selected. She will hack away at the chopper. Now, the swine chopper, he's the general tough brute here. He's the one we can expect to last longest. Actually, no, we'll try and slay the swine wretch because he spews all over people and makes them feel really, really, really disturbed. There we go. That's nice, that's softened him up. Bella, the grave robber, will just chuck some daggers in there.
Continue the onslaught.
There we go.
Destroy
spew us down.
Them all.
And then Fennel, lovely plant Fennel, will Iron Swan into the madman at the back here, hopefully dealing him some significant damage. There we are.
Such a terrible
a savage butcher's cut.
Unanswered.
Now, you'll notice now that poor Alison has the bleeding condition. One of the reasons why I've modelled her slightly on the leper hero class is that the leper has very low resistance to bleeding attacks, and bleeding is a serious health hazard in the world of Kingdom Death. It is something the humans of Kingdom Death have a serious weakness to. Now let's hurl some poison darts at this man to try to end his reign of insane gibberish. Alright. Fennel could leap to the back, but he's already poisoned from the poison darts and likely to perish soon. Instead, she'll launch a bleeding attack at the swine slasher here, in an attempt to cause him a significant injury. There we are, bleeding as predicted. Oh! Ow! Oh, and double bleed, this is tragic. Well, Asherman, your duty is clear. Fail to heal this lovely woman and cause her to bleed some more, because that's all you useless occultists for. Why didn't we bring a Vestal? Oh look, 2 points. Lovely, and no bleeding.
Great
How
is
wonderful.
the weapon
And
that cuts
the
on its
nasty,
own.
pointy spike thing died. Let's put a bandage on that, shall we, and cause that bleeding to soften up a little bit. And then it's time to slay the beast in dramatic fashion. Actually, no, she's probably likely to die. Let's use insight, just to keep her in the fight a little bit longer. There we are. You'll notice a lack of sound assets at the moment. It's pretty tricky for modders to try and get sound assets in the game. And oh, first initiative, wonderful. Now we shall be Beowulf, but without stripping off naked and shouting "I am Beowulf" all the time, because the audience isn't that dumb. They might remember. So Alison, slay the beast with your sword.
Destroyed.
Ho ho! What a palpable hit! That was beautiful. I'm truly impressed. This is turning into a fun showcase. I wasn't expecting it to be this much fun. Well, let's hack him down.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
And I was just about to say, there's this wonderful chest here. Isn't it a shame we didn't bring a key with us? And here one is. How nice of our foes to provide. Well, the grave robber is going to greedily plunge that key into the keyhole and wrench open the lid of that chest to see what is inside, because she's a grave robber, it's kind of the thing she does. Ah, some money, some title deeds, and an emerald. Well, we're keeping that. She can't chav that, even though she is pretty chav-tastic at the moment. Oh, that's very low health. There's enough food here for about 2 meals. I'm gonna hope we come across some carcasses soon to use medicinal herbs to purify the flesh. And sadly that was not the only battle. Let us press on. Oh, the Shambler's Altar, seriously? The Shambler's Altar is... Look, this is like week 4 of a campaign or something like that. It's not a good time, especially not with those sort of injuries. Let's not. And I know that means I probably can't do it now, but let's just light another torch and move on down the corridor. And forget we ever saw the Shambler's Altar, because it would tear us apart, and I'm trying to show off all character abilities here. You know what, I've shown off Slay the Beast. I mean, that was a fluke critical hit, but let's have Courage. I've shown Insight, Glimmer of Hope, and Run to Ground selected. We'll move her to the front. And for you, my dear, we'll take that away, because it's not useful in position 2. Neither's that, okay. There we go, let's be silly. Well, no struggles here. At this point, I'm seriously considering eating some of that food, because there just doesn't seem to be food available. Oh, yes. 2. So, battle room with Curio, and a fight. Sweetheart, you are eating, Alison. You are stuffing your face. We're just going to have to hope people don't get too hungry on this run. The mission must go on, and you must succeed, or perish in the attempt. No, my microphone volume is just way too low and you're not hearing any of this, but if you do, on the off chance you do, bonus! Right, Let's find out what's waiting to assail us here in this corridor, this hallway of death. Oh! Maggots. Ginormous maggots. And actually each one looks like 2 maggots. Let's chuck some daggers.
Begone, fiend!
Begone, fiend! And heal up.
Executed with impunity.
So now, Alison observes that Fennel here is getting rather stressed out and decides to use the light to cheer her up a bit and say, hey, there's still hope. Don't be a loser. We can slay these beasts together. And it's removed a little stress, so that's great. Let's just chuck some darts.
Surges as the
maggot may be resistant to venom, but not to the dart itself. Sometimes you need to protect those at the back. No run to ground at the moment. Courage! Take courage, friends! Sometimes aggression will see us through. Pummel to the face!
A trifling victory.
Yes, indeed. The Twilight Knight has
nonetheless.
Thank you, narrator. Yes, indeed. The Twilight Knight has some half-swording attacks. At least one, possibly 2, in the end.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
I'm also considering giving her an alternate skill set with less sword attacks and more funky stuff, such as throwing the founding stone to mark a target and make it more vulnerable to friendly attacks. And then there would be a pommel to the face ability called Strike to Stun, obviously showing my Warhammer Fantasy roleplay roots. I mean, how could I not? You know, we've already got Slay the Beast. I mean, now what else can we get in there for skill names? I need to give that a little bit of thought. Anyway, there appears to be a trap ahead. And I suspect that our grave robber is the most likely to be able to deal with it. And as fortune would have it, that is indeed the case. Within this chamber there will be violent struggle, so let's light another torch and get stuck in there. Knowing that we now... let's do this. So, not a lot of Darkest Dungeon players know that you can actually change skill selection inside a dungeon, outside a fight. You can't do it during a fight, they're all grayed out, but in a fight, outside a fight, when you're just walking down corridors, or waiting in a room, or camping, you can change your skills to say, hey, you know, I mean, if Fennel here became afflicted, I might say, you know what, it would be really useful to have Glimmer of Hope back again. So it's nice to have that flexibility. Let's get it stuck in there and see what violence commence. We still haven't had run to ground yet, which is a shame. Hopefully there'll be a good opportunity. Oh, that's a good opportunity. The foes are all surprised. Let's hurl some knives. Shout at them. A little healing would not go amiss here, and it was a very small amount of healing. Now let's run that foul swine wretch to ground. Let him not escape. No matter how he flees, squealing through the tunnels, we shall pursue him and hack him to bits with a big sharp blade. I quite like the... oh, she's squished down again. I think the Glimmer of Hope may be returning after this encounter, because the sheer amount of stress...
injury.
Oh, here we go.
Fear.
Oh, there is no hope! And placeholder string, not fun. I have to look into that. That's, once again, proof that she's not finished yet and not quite ready to release. Which is a real shame, because I'd like to be able to release her soonish. And she's not that far off now. She's come a long way since her original beginnings. Oh, that's a lot of bleed attacks. And you know what bleed attacks do to Fennel? They make her angry. She suffers an adrenaline rush and gets really cheesed off and stops bleeding. Because that's what Hellions do, baby. Let's finish this swine off once and for all with a 21-point critical. Decimated indeed. It's a lot of stress, and again, that defense animation will eventually be fixed. But for now, let's fix some damage here. Say, ow, here come the blades, bleeds. Alright, halberds for face.
Annihilated.
And as for poor Alison here, well, she's going to wrap bandages around her wounds and gain some insight into the current situation as to the natures of the dangers she may face. Let's 12, 14, 26, 27. A little healing here, hopefully. Oh! A lottle healing. Let's just venom him up a little. So little he resisted. But
their formation is broken.
Revenge is sweet. Oh, you beauty! Bash! Biff! He asked for that. He really did, didn't he?
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
A faint hope indeed. Now, let's swap these two back around. We're out of bandages. And we can remove that. And that. Actually, if she's in front, we can go with bleed out. Probably would be better to go with if it bleeds, we can kill it. But no. So, towards our last struggle, our last conflict, and here is the food cart, of course. Well, let's cleanse this foul mound of carcasses and see what can be salvaged.
Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Well, they got hungry. Oh, who's the stress eater? Who's the overeater? It's you, it's Fennel. I was expecting third or fourth try to be lucky, but okay, she might be getting fixed when we get back to town. Because that can be really problematic in the long run if you don't have extra supplies in a dungeon. I should have checked that before going in and got 10 food instead of 8. Ah well, light another torch and head into our final conflict. This is a good skill set for final conflict. Oh, crikey. Possibly swap courage for slave a beast. Yeah. I like to keep the skills organised in the same order they are on the bar, because that way I know what I'm doing. Oh, spiders. Not a big fan. Right, let's hurl some blades.
Back to the pit.
And there goes the Iron Swan. Ah well,
Another abomination, cleansed from our lands.
Let's mark you up. Oh no, what's she done? She's squished down. See, that will get fixed eventually. It will. It shall. It must. And let's get some protection up, because she's kind of vulnerable right now, and also stress is actually more important than health in this game. So I'm just removing that stress for when I go back to town, so it'll be safer to send her on a run in the future. Oh, let's just get it there. The Grave Robber has that nice dashing forwards attack, which can be really useful sometimes.
The ground quakes. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud.
So, something you'll notice about Twilight Knight is that while she has not one, but 2 skills of riposte, she has no skills of guard. Now, she shares the riposte but no guard with the Highwayman, but if I did give her guard with both those riposte skills, I think that would be too powerful. Also, she's not the guarding type, she's more like a troll slayer. She goes dashing out to fight the monster on her own. She's only letting these people come with her because she has been assured it is too dangerous to go alone, and she wishes to accompany them and ensure that nothing foul should befall them. So, I'm considering having Glimmer of Hope mark her as a target as well, so she can have riposte and mark, but no guard. However, that does mean she's actually really useful to take along if you've got an antiquarian of the party who can, of course, beg for protection. Like, oh, protect me! Guard me now! That's actually a good combination. Anyway, we have succeeded in our quest. Let us depart this foul nest of corruption and return to the hamlet.
Their squeals fade. Their confidence is shaken.
We have some changes. What do we have? Ah! Asherman now is addicted to gambling, but he gets his second wind when he's been beaten down a bit. Bella. Of course, Bella is often vulnerable to the dark temptations and finds herself drawn to things she should not, but is thick-blooded and does not bleed often. She does not wish to relinquish that precious red liquid. And Alison, what has she got from the lucky dip that is the end of Adventure Nightmare? Ah! Warren's Explorer! A bonus scouting chance of a warrant, I think. Maybe she'll come back here again someday. But for now she's hopeless, so we'll have to get her to do something in town to reduce that stress, or just send her on dungeon runs and let her grind it down herself with her own abilities. Perhaps with the assistance of a crusader, or a jester, to help remove some of that stress.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Well, there we have it. We're all back safely in the hamlet. Although Alison needs to go get the worries cured right away because she's a jittery, nervous wreck right now. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this little overview of the Twilight Knight class. I'll hope to do some more videos in the future, and I'd really love at some point to do a Darkest Dungeon playthrough. You know, start up a new estate, play through it. I've never completed the game yet, but I have lots of fun ideas, and look, I've played like 800 hours of it, okay? Love it to bits, and I'll be playing it again sometime. Anyway, hope you've all enjoyed this little playthrough, and we'll say bye-bye for now. Bye!